Hey guys, Mike here coming to you live from the quad in front of the sociology building and art and sociology building on the beautiful campus of the University of Maryland. See, Maryland, where I am taking classes as a superannuated graduate student. Kind of a post-grad thing. Post-grad means I'm over 60 and it's free. So, yeah. So, topic today, healthcare, specifically the increase of health insurance rates, or rather health subsidies, tax subsidies for getting Obamacare, and tax subsidies in advance. So, table's not even. So what Susan B. Anthony is insisting upon is a tax increase. Where's Grover Norquist when you need him? Of course, he's in league with the anti-abortionists, so he's not going to say anything because craven. So, you know, those people who are anti-tax and pro-liberty, I'm talking to you, Libertarian Party, you need to get on the side of Obamacare for this and say, yes, these people deserve their taxes. If there's going to have government, it should be, you know, low taxes, or with as low a taxes as possible, so there's no public option needed, and not cut it off because of abortion. Although some libertarians are squishy on abortion because, you know, they're Catholic, or they're coalitionally Catholic. They believe in the rights of the unborn person as well as the mother, which is, I don't know, kind of daft, especially in the early terms. In the late terms, yeah, then it's a matter of eugenics, and whether you wanted to go active or passive on the eugenics. Passive eugenics is never a bad idea, you know, and nobody has a right to stay in the womb. Which brings us to the Susan B. Anthony Fund, and the reason they're making it a abortion issue, a double issue. They have double issues now, double scoring issues, so that if you vote for extending the subsidies, that you are on their no list. So as if being pro-life visibly is an electoral advantage post Dobbs. Okay, Republicans, if you want to go double down on Dobbs, go with that right ahead. But try not to do it. Well, I mean, yeah, without causing pain. You know, or making the premiums unaffordable that were unaffordable and designed and are less unaffordable now because of the tax changes that were put in, the increased tax subsidies for having health insurance. So it might actually be affordable now. I haven't checked lately since the pandemic. I gather that these are pandemic era tax rates, so that were set to expire after the pandemic was over, which it is. But once somebody has a benefit, they don't want to give it up. Especially if they budgeted it in. People have budgets, and you know, if you increase a fixed cost, then there's less money for variable costs like food, and you know, which is kind of a fixed cost, and all those things. Christmas, money for Christmas, okay? Money to keep the economy going in the face of tariffs and inflation. So, yeah, this is not a good thing for the economy either to put this tax, to eliminate this tax credit. Now let's talk about the Susan B. Anthony Fund, shall we? That's the most Kafkaesque, Orwellian name for an organization I could have imagined. My great-grandmother was a peer of Susan, who never smiled or for camera, but in person, yes. They were temperance people. You know, like great-grandmother handled Minnesota for Susan. They were the ultimate feminist organization, and it was all connected. You know, ending covenanture, the vote, keeping husbands from beating their wives when they're drunk. It's all the same. That's all the thing. It's all the same thing. Rights to work, all of that. You can't separate that stuff. You know, there's no proof that my great-grandmother was beyond temperance, but she was in the coalition. Coalition politics is coalition politics. So yes, she would have blanched at the thought that Susan B. Anthony would restrict abortion rights. It's just like, that's just a non-starter historically, or within the coalition that I belong to, which is called my family. So yeah, it's like, no. Susan B., just change your name, because you're lying the moment you open your mouths. Literally. I gotta check my timer. If it goes long, it goes long. Here it is. Oh, plenty of time. Okay, so let's talk about the issue of health care, shall we? I mean, I agree that with the speaker that Obamacare is a raw deal. Does he wish to have a public option instead? That's the way Romney did it. I'm all for a public option instead of subsidies for insurance. In fact, yeah, anybody who's has, you know, you can even scrap pre-existing condition reform as long as the people are automatically enrolled in a subsidized public option, meaning that somebody else pays for it. You know, get rid of Medicaid, have Medicaid for seniors as Medicare Part E, so the government, you know, funds it, and then Medicare, and then Medicaid would be gone as part of the public option. That covers people who are poor and people who have pre-existing conditions. People who aren't profitable for the insurance companies. Of course, if you have a public option and it keeps growing because so that insurance companies can increase their profitability, which capitalism makes them want to do, which is a stupid strategy. That actually is the end of capitalism. It will eventually end private insurance, because eventually everybody who needs insurance will be the public option. And other companies will say, we can hire our own doctors, which is what they'll do anyway in the long run. You know, people will hire their own doctors and make HMO deals, and and get rid of third-party insurance entirely. You know, which is part of the financial world, which, those of us who go back to the colonial period and beyond are all for getting rid of, the financial world. It's funny though how the Susan B. Anthony Fund and the Republicans are going after health insurance under Hyde for poor people. They're not going after for people who are insured through their employers, which also has a tax advantage. The corporate profits tax or profits for business taxes for the for small business. You know what they have? No restrictions on the acquisition of private insurance. So private insurance for wealthier people, including donors to the Susan B. Anthony Fund, fully cover abortion, women's health services, all of that. So if the Susan B. Anthony Fund really wants consistency, they will say that any health plan that is funded by a tax exclusion has to not offer abortion. Yeah, you try that. Go ahead, make my day, Susan B. Anthony Fund. That's not going to fly. Too many white people want that benefit, and rich people. want that benefit. So yeah, that's not going to happen. It's just not. You know, if you want to stop abortion, Susan B. Anthony Fund, then increase the minimum wage. That's a pro-life measure. Double or triple the child tax credit. Then people, you know, people will want more kids. You know, make it $500 a month, if not $1,000, preferably $1,000. 500 state, 500 federal. So 1,000. In some states don't need that much. Some states need 2,000, given the cost of housing. You know, and also, here's one: be controversial and say that all inflation adjustments in the public sector and the government contract sector need to be whole dollar based, not percentage of salary based, so that everybody gets the same bump if they work, including minimum wage workers. There won't be, you know, poor people for long after that, because, you know, people want their money. You know, professionals want their bump. But if they have to give the same bump to poor people, you know, they may not want it as much. Or they'll have some reason not to give it to them, because if it's some kind of incentive. Is poverty an incentive to, you know, poverty is not an incentive to work harder. It's slavery, if you want that. It becomes wage slavery. You know, we're not for slavery anymore in this country. Well, we are. Capitalism. We're still a capitalist country, so. Yeah, we were all in favor of wage slavery here. This is the United States of America. What, are you kidding me? We were founded on it. Quite literally, we were founded to allow for both capitalism and slavery. Even free labor is not really free. So, yeah, you're taking away people's lives so that other people can be rich. Is that at all ethical? So, yes. And, you know, some people don't want their kids to be born into that. That's why they have abortions. You make it so they don't have to be born with that by providing plenty of education and plenty of income until they get to the point where educators pay them, and then we're talking. I mean, and I'm all for, how are we going to pay for such health care? And such benefits? Well, I mean, minimum wage helps, but the public option should be funded by employer net business receipts tax. Anybody who's an employer should pay it. Not a corporate profits tax. You know, remove the deductibility of labor from corporate income taxes, and you get essentially a VAT, a net subtraction VAT, a net business receipts tax. Do that, and you can fund it. You can fund anything. You know, so then you can make the, like, health insurance for workers can still have a tax exclusion. The public option, if you have employees getting that, or you fund them instead of the public option, it's a tax credit. It should be a tax credit. And that fund should also, that tax should also fund all of healthcare, including Medicare. You know, one tax, not multiple taxes. One funding stream, not multiple funding streams. And childcare, which should be a credit, not an exclusion, and a full credit. So yeah, you got to make the taxes higher. But if you make the taxes higher, you can, you know, you can make sure people have days off, adequate provision for childcare, and, you know, if their credits outweigh their tax, then if you would also have a VAT, a normal value added tax, then their VAT payment would decrease the amount that they're over, but only that amount. Then after that, you know, if you crowd out your own VAT, then you're just hiring people to give them benefits, and that shouldn't be allowed either. So to stop fraud and padding, then you have to have some limit, and the limit is, you know, the consumption-based tax as opposed to the employment-based tax. So yeah, it's doable. Let's do it. So end of part one of the day.